Hey there, this is Perch. And question came up: should you collect comics for value? Meaning, should you be buying comics? Should you be collecting them with the expectation that you're going to get a payday someday? That this comics will appreciate in value and and you'll be able to turn them in. So, the comic trade has obviously been built on collectors and built on this concept from, I don't want to say from the beginning, but for a long time. And I think anyone who's gone to a comic store, you see the back issues, you see prices increase somewhat arbitrarily, but you can see that kind of economy come out with comics. And you want to be a part of that economy. You want to, buy a comic and turn it. And I remember when I was younger, Death in the Family came out. And I remember this feeling of going into a gas station and there was the Death in the Family Robin issue. And I remember at the time, I was in my teens, and I'd asked for a loan, kind of for my parents. I had money, but there were about 40 copies, I think, sitting there of the Death in the Family event. Some of issue two, a lot of issue three, which was the good one to have, so to speak. And I borrowed some money and I bought all the issues. I just walked out with this giant stack. The gas station attendant's like, "Wow, you really like Robin?" And he's looking at the cover and it's like this, Magnola illustration of Robin all bloody from the mouth. And it's like, okay, I'm sure the guy thought I was out of my mind. But I did that. And then because I knew, so when they were there, I was shocked. I had this fluttery feeling in my stomach of like, oh my God, this issue is selling out. It's super valuable. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to turn these things immediately. I'm going to flip them right away. And I did. I like a week later, again, with my father, who thought this whole thing was crazy, but I managed to convince him of, hey, look, I'm taking this issue. And we took it into a store, and the guy paid me, I want to say $16 a piece for him. And I don't remember now what the cover price was, 75 cents. It was cheap. And I remember my father's like eyebrow raised, and he's like, holy cow, you're a little investor. You're you're smart with money. You're just so surprised. And that moment was powerful for him of seeing this happen. And that's the collector kind of dream. The other one is that you go into the attic and everybody's got stories like this of like, I had comics as a kid. I mean, the old people have stories like this. I had all these comics, and they always exaggerate. Like I had Superman #1 and Batman #1. It's like, well, which Batman #1 did you have, and was it really #1? But whatever, And they were up in the attic in a box, and then I went off to the army, and I came back, and you know, my mom had thrown all my comics away. She sold them all for 5 cents at a garage sale, and that would have been worth $1 million today. There's that feeling of like, money lost. It's kind of like the same feeling people have in the casino, where like I went in and I had the perfect hand, but I somebody with a slightly better hand and crumble. So when people ask me, and this comes a long time because people come into the store sometime and they'll say things like, I'm buying this because it's going to go up in value, or hey, I want to make sure I collect all of these because they'll be worth a lot of money someday. And that person, let's say some guy and his girlfriend's there, or the mother is there, or somebody, and I get the skeptical look, and I get the question, do you really think these things are going to go up in value? And the blunt answer is probably not. Especially for some of these, they're buying comics. Comics are not. It's not like buying a stock. It's not like putting money into a savings account where the number is just going to grow. It will grow in value based upon the rarity, based upon a bunch of factors. But it's not like you come in and you buy Marvel Rising #1 and you hold on to it 5 years and you turn it in the comic store and you're going to get a 300% return on it. That's not how it works. That's not how anything works in comics. But I don't, you don't want to be the negative. You don't be the glass half empty person. You still want, to encourage that collector spirit, that collector dream, that fluttery feeling I had with the death issue. So it's a tough answer. It's an answer that says, well, here's always what I say. I say, there's a lot of comics here. and so they some gain in value, some don't. It's sometimes hard to predict which is going to be which, what's going to go up and what's not. Sometimes hard to tell. And the key with comics is if you want to have a happy life, if you want to be happy about this community, about the comic you're buying, if you want to feel good about the money you're spending, then at the end of the day, you need to be investing in something you enjoy. So if you're buying comics purely to flip them in a return, then I think you're doing the wrong thing. I would advise you to take your money. I would advise you to learn about the stock market. I would advise you to play that game. Playing the collector game without passion for the thing you're collecting is, I think, futile in your mind. You're not going to get the return you really want. There's better ways to get that return. There's stronger, better investments that you can make. So when you're collecting comics, do it because you love it, and do it buy the comics that if they don't go up in value at all, you'll still feel like you got an entertaining, engaging, fun experience. Do it for the right reasons. If you buy, if you buy 20 issues of the Robin death issue, then if none of them go up in value, you have to be prepared to not hate comics as a result. You have to be prepared to still want to be part of this system. So I advise against anyone who's going into comics purely as a collector investment cash grab. It's just not, it's not financially sound. It's not a good idea. There's better places to put your money, and there's happier places to put your money, and that's what you should do. That's my take anyway. So I always try and be honest with people. Yes, some comics will earn money. Yes, some will go up in value. Yes, sometimes that's not always, clear why something goes up in value or why it doesn't. But at the end of the day, be happy with where you're putting your money, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you sane through the whole process. It's the only thing that's going to let you survive the downs, because there are always downs. That's my take. That's how I think you should handle it as a collector, as an investor, as a person who loves comics. So I don't know. What do you think? Are you a collector? Are you somebody who goes in and buys every number one issue, every polybagged issue? Are you that kind of buyer? Are you happy being that kind of buyer? Are you sitting on hundreds of long boxes just waiting for that right moment to cash them in and make that huge profit and pay off your college? Or are you hoping, that there's a nice surprise, a nice outcome someday from the comics, but at the end of the day, you'll enjoy the ride? What are you? Let me know in the comments. Please like, subscribe, notify, all of those things. Tell your friends. We'd love to get more people in here. And follow me on social media. It's Comic Perch on Twitter. And give me some topics. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about. And thanks for listening.